Gentlemen, I'd like to begin this episode with an open letter to one Dr. Uwe Boll. You motherfucker. How fucking dare you? Who the fuck do you think you are? You come in here, you take some sort of mildly respected video game properties, and you fuck them right in the ass. Fuck you. And I mean this in the most sincere possible way to Dr. Uwe Boll. I hope that you are walking down the street one day. It's a glorious day, a mild day. And then you look up into the sky. Wow, those clouds look like a big bag of dicks. And you realize, no, those aren't clouds. It's a giant bag of dicks. And they fall directly into your mouth, and you choke on them. And you choke on those bag of dicks, Uwe Boll. Uwe Boll choke on a bag of dicks. Figuratively. It's movies based on video games. This week on Nothing Good.
So normally, the topics we cover, we usually kind of vibe with, and usually, we're on the same page with. But I think 90% of that will be the case this episode.
Yes,
with the exception of one small, one very large crater-sized exception. But before we get to that, gentlemen, it is episode 48.
48.
We are just trucking along.
We are fast tracking to 50. We are fast tracking to the WrestleMania of Nothing Good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But
I hope the people like Lucasfilm are like, guys,
maybe.
They will.
So,
and the 12 of you will continue to listen.
That's right. And tonight is a special night because we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about movies based on video game properties. Before we get to that, gentlemen, how are you this fine evening?
Pretty good. Not as good as Mr. Bolt, who just got assaulted verbally by Joan.
Figuratively.
At least 48.
Just
dicks.
for legal purposes, because Uwe Boll seems like the kind of person who would have a lawyer listen to a podcast that no one else listens to. So for that, I say, fuck you, actually.
Yeah, he was audibly violated.
But I hope
and I'm
that
here
you
for it.
figuratively get raped by a minotaur.
Wow. That is aggressive.
There you go. So our nights are going great.
Yeah.
His, not so much.
I hope not.
Mac, how
Mine's
are you?
great, though.
gentlemen, I'm doing great. Still here in Florida.
You've been in Florida for a while.
Getting ready.
I don't think you're ever coming back.
Did you just move to Florida, man?
Everybody. So, getting ready to come home here soon. Looking forward to getting back up north and all that good stuff. So, had a lot of opportunity since we last recorded to watch a lot of these video game movies, and I wish I had every one of those hours back.
Yeah.
That's pretty fair, actually.
Yes.
Yes.
For most of the movies that we'll talk about on this list, this is a very fair thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only thing worse than watching shitty movies in Florida is watching shitty movies in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least I go outside. It's 90 degrees and sunny.
At least you got palm trees. That's it.
There are palm trees. I have not seen a single alligator since I've been here. I'm a little upset about that.
Yeah, it's probably for the best.
Every time we go by like a pond or something, I'm just taking a look. Like, is anything fucking in there? Like, what's going on? Saw a dolphin.
Nice.
That's cool.
Nice.
Saw a crackhead named Gator.
Okay.
And also saw a Miami dolphin. But that's been about it since I've been here.
Okay.
Well, if you do run into a gator before you come home, you should look at dead in the eye and ask it how it feels about Resident Evil Apocalypse.
And I got to pet a stingray at a baseball game.
I was going to say, was it in some guy's basement? Did he promise you close your eyes? It'll feel rough.
Yeah.
This is definitely a stingray.
Yeah, stingray was just the name of his drug dealer.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things where, gentlemen, you know, being Pittsburghers that we are, And Noah, after you recently had your stint with professional baseball,
I did.
You go to I went to a Tampa Bay Rays game, and they have an area to pet a ray, pet the stingray. I thought, why not a PNC Park? Do we not just give people the ability to go and just pet a pirate?
That would have been fine. Get a little scurvy. Get the authentic pirate and then be paid nothing for it.
Someone in cosplay who's paid nothing but rum. And you want to make sure
speaking
you're
of
there before the
booze-
sixth inning.
Speaking of booze, a little bit of rum. What are you drinking tonight, Mac?
I got a little bit of the Cerveza Más Fina left over here, so I'm still rocking the Corona.
Still crushing the Corona Extra.
See.
Extra, because you be extra with the extra Corona. I am drinking because Mr. Brown, he was generous enough to, from last episode, he still had some left over, the Flying Dog limited release Tropical Bitch IPA. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, the moment Jeff here took a sip of it before we started recording, his exact words, that's tropical as fuck.
It's true. It's
quite
damn
It
true.
actually is.
We're trying to match your Florida vibe.
Yes.
And we appreciate that very much, Mac. It is quite tropical.
It's good. It's really good.
It is fun. It is a good thing.
Quite tasty, as they say.
So there's we go. But speaking of tastiness, you're thinking about last week we covered 16-bit games, which start at the end of the 80s, and or we mostly consider it an early 90s subject, right?
Correct.
But movies based on video games is almost an exclusively, at least in the United States, a 90s and beyond subject. I mean, the first major one was released 92, 93, Mario Brothers, and then onward. But we got to talk about. So all of these things that we're talking about today happened in our lifetime, in our cultural awareness.
Yes.
But today we're going to discuss the highs, the lows, and most of it in between.
Yeah.
In there with movies based on video games and ever needing discussion.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because if you look at the popularity of games and you look at the popularity of movies, you would think there would be some correlation of success.
It would have worked out.
Yes.
Yeah.
That, hey, this game is really fucking great. Let's make a really great movie. That's not the reality
No.
of any of it. It's like, let's take a great game and make a shitty movie or an average movie at best. And people will come because they play the game.
I'm going to pose a question. Why do you think that is? Why now? Because honestly, I think we can all agree that on paper, you take any game that has like a pretty good storyline and a decent campaign or something like that, or it's just vague enough and old enough of a story of a game that like you could fill in the blanks and be really creative and be really something really cool. Why is it Hollywood typically? I have my opinions, but I'm curious about yours. Why do you think they have such a hard time capitalizing on what's already kind of not done for them, but the structure's already there, the characters are already there.
A lot of the legwork is already done.
Antagonists are already there.
It is surprising how much of it hasn't worked, considering on paper, from a pure business standpoint, it sounds like it makes perfect sense. Like, we got this great game,
It's already
sold
written.
a shit ton of copies, has a great story. Let's just adapt that on the screen. But it very rarely works out like that.
And I want to say that's a two-pronged issue. Number one, I think the logistics of the filmmaking, right? Okay. Because you got to think, I think movies, video games fall under the more so than even books. When you're talking about adapting a book to a movie, people are like, oh, the book was better. You had to read the book to really flesh out the movie. And a lot of times that's true. But a video game is so much more nuanced. You're controlling the character. You're walking around. You do it at your own pace. You absorb the information at your own structure. So to fit all of that into 90, 120 minutes is weird. But where a book has the logistics of it, a book has the ability because it's already in a written format. And you're just adapting that in a screenplay. You read a book, and as an executive, you read a screenplay. But as an executive, a big brain, gum chewing, prostitute, having sex, Fox executive, or any of those guys, they're like, no, so tell me about this game. Tell me about the big things. It's aliens, it's people. So you're taking something that isn't really in a scripted format. You try to boil it down from something that you engage in. It's a game you play. It's something you watch and interact
You experience,
with.
Yes. You're in it. You're in the throes of it.
to
where
something
as opposed to just watching it, where
Yes.
it's basically all cinematic.
Well, yes, but you got to think all movies before we watch them and hear them, an executive has to read them,
Correct.
right? And so that all boils down to you taking this game that you watch and you play, and it has to boil down to a medium that some executive who's definitely almost not played this game, and maybe the best experience is that their kids have played the game,
Right.
has to be able to understand it and see it in his movie vision. So that is, I think, why a lot of it has fallen apart.
Yeah, I think there's a big disconnect
Yes.
with studio executives who buy the rights to a game because it's successful,
They should see dollar
but they've
signs.
never played or experienced that game and can't see it from the perspective of a gamer. And the gamers are ultimately the audience who's either going to pay to buy a ticket or not, or go online and shit on the movie or not.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
which is far more detrimental than ticket sales could ever be in today's culture and day and age. But it's such a disconnect between the two. It's a very drastic line in the sand from one side to the other.
That's well said.
And they still it's always one step forward, two steps back on it too. We get something like that Mortal Kombat, which didn't have a lot of ground to clear to be the best video game movie made to that date.
Right.
And then you take steps back with everything else that happened. And then Resident Evil, one step forward. And then everything else, Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2, fine movies can compare to a lot of the other zeitgeist. But then all the other sequels step back. And I think you get Sonic the Hedgehog, which we'll talk about here in a minute on my camp. The first one, despite the fact that the internet bullied them into making that into a better
They did.
into a better movie, and it was
Yes.
a better movie because of the internet bullying. Then you take two steps back with like what the Halo TV series is right now, right?
Let's just talk about that for a second.
Let's talk about Halo
The fucking hype around that. All of us, we talked about it
internally.
months ago
We were so stoked.
on the show
Yes.
about how hyped we were about this fucking Halo show, and it just fucking fell so flat out of the gate. Like, it's just not good.
It is not good. No. And here's I don't understand. You know what we've never seen in any of the Halo games? Master Chief's face. I didn't need to know what race he was.
Yeah.
Or what gender he was. And I didn't need
Nope.
to know that he fucks.
Well,
And
we
I
know
did-
now.
And I didn't need to know that his dick can turn a genocidal bitch into a baby face. Didn't need to know that. And we're still on Reach.
You know it now?
Yes.
So,
Are you better
know,
for it? Probably not.
No. Max.
So you talk about why video games and movies why they don't translate, right? When you take a book, most novels are about 300 pages, on average and everything. A screenplay is typically 90 to 100, right? So
Yeah.
you're taking about 1/3 of the book typically and turning that into what the movie is. When you got a video game, right? You don't have anything necessarily written to go off of. There is story in a video game, but like you said, Noah, most of the time in a video game, it's you controlling the character going around. I mean, really, if you think about a video game, how much actual cinematic is really going on in the video game? 15,
Yeah.
20 minutes maybe?
So
It's just cutscenes.
Exactly. And
Just a
also,
transition,
another
basically.
thing, too, with a lot of video games is that it's just one character. You don't necessarily have supporting characters, side characters, friends, family, all these other types of
Different
things
perspectives.
that'll play in. So you now all of a sudden have to take a singular narrative that is self-driven and try to figure out a way to turn that into a 120-minute, visual medium that it doesn't line up. And nobody's been able to necessarily, in my opinion, successfully figure out exactly the way to do that. And I just think it almost might be a losing battle anytime you try to do it.
Just to kind of add into what you just said is that most of what happens in a video game is based around the protagonist's perspective and what happens around the protagonist because you're the player. And I think some of the greatest games are the games that attempt to tell a story occasionally, like a movie does, and breaks it up. Ocarina of Time cuts away to Ganon and Zelda experiencing things outside of Link. You've got Halo, especially Halo 2, which cuts away to like the Prophet's Truth.
Yeah, it builds layers.
And the Arbiter, right? And all that fun stuff there. So you have these games that happen outside of the main character, and not coincidentally, they're highly rated games in the lore of it, Gears of War, right? In the lore of gamers that bother to do this. But most games, especially predating full motion video and cinematics, when you're playing Mario, you're fucking playing as Mario, hopping around this game. Sonic the Hedgehog, you're Sonic. They don't cut away to Robotnik's lab where he's working on the deal.
That's right.
And so now, and here's the thing too, I think the unsung victims of that early video game bust period, video game movies from like 93 to like 2000, are the screenwriters who are paid pennies to try to turn a game into something only for Uwe Boll. For that motherfucker.
How many times we're going to get Uwe Boll tonight?
Oh,
not
more than
enough
he
times.
deserves. Not enough time. We're going to mention him more than he deserves, but I could never motherfuck him enough.
But it's a hard job for the screenwriters to
is.
take basically. If you look at a solid game, there's 30 to 40 hours worth of playthrough there. And how do you consolidate that down to 90 to 120 minutes?
Yeah.
Good question.
And
True.
and still have something that's concise but impactful, that it has a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end
Yes.
that people are going to buy.
And
you also invested in.
And you also got to like walk the fine line between like, okay, you pick a very popular franchise and go, okay, we're going to make a movie about this. Let's write a script about it. You don't want to tell the same damn story over.
No.
Correct.
Right? Okay, on paper, like, I mean, why not? People, they'll buy that. Like, yes, but maybe the
They want
casual
something new.
moviegoer who knows nothing about the story will be like, oh, this is amazing. But the audience but that goes, hold on, that goes to the other question. Who's the audience? Who are they really looking at? Are they looking at the hardcore audience? Because they're going to shit all over that
Yeah.
movie anyhow.
Hey,
It's not perfect.
They want the general audience.
They do want
every
the general
time.
audience. So maybe they
It's a
should
bigger number.
aim at that denominator and go, well, let's just retell the story, right?
And I think our most successful movies on here aim at the general audience and they land. I think it's not. I'm not talking about the best ones, but the most financially successful movies that we're going to talk about today do absolutely aim for the general audience. So we had a prepared list of questions
Yes.
that were told to us today about what, just to try to help kind of keep us on our track. Well, we do wander around on this
Time or
fucking
two.
We've been
show.
known to do
Here
that.
and
It's
there.
on brand for us.
It is. And last week, we went into great. Can I just say what?
That's a good question.
That is a great question. Yes, because, and I want to say this to my dear, sweet, sexy listeners. If you think that is bad for the way that my wife and I talk to each other, here's the thing: she acts like the fucking baby face, like that. She doesn't say shit like that to me, But she doesn't. Actually, she doesn't. She's a nice person. I'm just terrible. I did sleep in my bed, Bill, and I will continue to do so out of spite, almost.
Yeah, to her credit, though, she was very quiet at the beginning, but once you walked away, like, she opened up and she was fine with the three of us.
Interestingly
but then
enough,
as soon as you came back, it was just like, quiet, reserved, Marielle.
It's
like, my husband's an asshole. Like, what am I going to say to set him off on a fucking tangent that I can't control? How do I wrangle this shit in?
As I have
That's
said,
what we experienced on this side of the table.
That's good to know. As I have said, to anyone that will listen, particularly the mental health professionals in mine and my wife's life, I feel that marriage is equal parts love, trust, and psychological warfare.
That's a way to look at it.
And marriage is a game that somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. And I play for keeps.
Oh, shit.
That's how it is.
Oh,
but
shit.
I had
All
a
right.
great time last week, and we really
It was really good.
It was a really good, fun
Yeah.
episode. But I don't want to go through listing all of that stuff. I just think we kind of start. We kind of just generally shout at each other until the
Just
point.
motherfuck each
until we
other.
motherfuck each other straight up. So why don't we dive into our list of things to keep us on topic? What's at the top?
Well, okay, so let's just get the good right out of the way. Your in your opinion, do I say the best or your favorite? I feel like we do favorite too much. What do you think is the best?
I don't know that there is a best.
Well, there's got to be the best
There is
out
a
of
best.
something, right? There's got to be the one that is the best. It may not be the best by much.
There is not one that's the best.
There has to be.
There is.
I think there is.
I think there is.
I think there is too.
I think we're not going to agree on. None of us are going to agree
None of
on
us
it.
are going to agree. Yeah,
But I think there
it's
is a
gonna be
best.
across the board.
No.
Who wants to start? Go.
I'll start.
No, go
I'll
ahead.
start. First of all, I'm gonna say that we'll cover favorite when we go later, right? But best. I think the best video game movie ever made to date is Detective Pikachu. I
Never saw it, but I want to.
it does what I didn't care about the actual story, which ended up being good, but it did the world building of the Pokemon world right.
What I love about Detective Pikachu is when you play a Pokemon game, like you visualize like, hey, what would that Pokemon look like in real life?
Yes.
And then in Detective Pikachu, you see what all the Pokemon look like in real life, and you're like, this is fucking like real life Pokemon.
Fucking incredible.
Like, I wish these Pokemon
It's
were
fucking
real.
incredible.
Like, this is really fucking good.
And
And that's taking Ryan Reynolds like out of the equation.
completely out of the equation. I just love
Because
how,
Pikachu should just say Pika Pika, motherfucker.
and that's taking that out of the way. But the world building alone, it did more world building than most any of the other video game movies on our list.
I would agree with
And
that.
I think it just like because the whole hallmark of the Pokemon games, from Red and Blue all the way through to Shiny Diamond and Shimmering Pearl, is that Pokemon are ingrained in every part of this game world's
Yep.
area. And it was in Detective Pikachu. They were in every part without fail. And like the Pokemon in the background and all the characters, it felt good and it was great world building. And that alone, plus a nice little noir kind of story, that's the best one, in my opinion.
Yeah. For me, I think the best, most accurate portrayal of a video game is Sonic the Hedgehog 1.
I think that was really good.
Now,
That would be number 2 for me. Yeah.
not that it's a great movie
No.
by any means, but if you look at the original trailer that came out for Sonic the Hedgehog, the nightmare fuel that Sonic was, before the fans were like, hey, fuck you guys, we're not going to come see this unless you make Sonic look like Sonic, how he looked in Sonic 2.
It was
Then they're like,
something.
okay, we'll do that. And then they're like, oh, by the way, forget about that. Like, just focus on his shoes because those were right. But look at his eyes now, and you're like, holy shit, that's fucking
That's
Sonic that I played for 10 years in the 90s. And the movie fucking delivers.
It does. It's a family movie. And that Sonic the movie was geared at my kid.
Right.
And it landed on my kid to the point where Sonic 2 that just recently came out was the first movie in my daughter's life that when she saw the trailer for it at the beginning, she was excited about it and was waiting
That's
for it to
pretty
come
cool,
out.
too.
And she watched every time the ad come on YouTube, she'd watch the whole thing. See, Daddy,
The hype
when
was
did
building
Sonic 2?
for
It was
her.
our first hyped movie. So the weekend it came out, we went and I got tickets on the Monday and we went. And she was hooked, line and sinker, laughing in the movie, loving it,
Yeah.
loving Tails, loving Knuckles, and that's what it's about. And
Yeah.
she'll look at that the way we look at other stuff. But I just thought, like, regardless if they're good movies or not, regardless,
Yeah.
they fucking did Sonic right.
Yeah. And I was so stoked for Sonic 2 because I fucking love Knuckles.
Oh, Knuckles.
And they fucking delivered that
Yeah, you
character
do, you filthy
exactly. This is like deja vu, like 3 Knuckles deep of deja vu.
Oh my god.
But
many Knuckles.
fucking Knuckles, they delivered that character exactly how I envisioned that character
That's how yeah.
from the games to Sonic 2.
I mean, yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
That was
yes.
my Tails,
I
though.
did.
Listen, Idris Elba was a bad motherfucker.
Tails was on point. Knuckles was on point.
Idris Elba's
Like,
a DJ.
Fucking
Tails,
Sonic.
Tails was the
Luther?
actual voice
Yes.
actor
Luther's
that like
such a
would do
fucking
Tails in the video
gorgeous
game.
dog.
Yeah.
And do you ever watch? Did you guys ever watch Luther?
No.
You ever
Yeah.
heard of Luther?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking watch that.
Oh,
shit.
dude, the soundtrack to Luther. No, we're all fans of the Guy Ritchie movies, right? Like Snatch and all stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the great things about those movies is the use of music to tell when all a character is doing is walking down the street, but you tell thing. Luther does that
Yes.
shit, and you're like,
That was my
Yeah.
introduction
Ritchie
to that
style.
to Elba. That was my major introduction, and it was years ago when it was. I don't know if it's still on Netflix anymore. I feel like it has to be still on
It's
Netflix.
not on Netflix. It's
Fuck.
on
Yeah, it's
BritBox.
probably streaming somewhere.
BritBox. It's on
Dude,
BritBox.
Okay, I don't even know what the fuck that is. But
That's you can add it on to Amazon.
you
It's a
said it like I'm like, okay,
It's
cool.
a standalone app, but you can also add it on Amazon Prime, and it's like all BBC and
It's,
Sky
you said it's
stuff.
called BritBox.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of funny.
Did you know he's a DJ?
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
a house
Dude,
DJ.
Yeah.
is like listen. I don't
He's
know.
also Heimdall. He can control the Bifrost.
Yeah, he
no
can.
big deal.
No big deal.
And
Weird flex, but okay.
He's the only man crush I've ever had in my life. Is that dude? He's
Yeah.
like a
He's just
bad
badass.
motherfucker.
Mine was
man.
Knuckles, which is weird.
That is weird, but makes sense.
He is so good. He is so good.
No,
but-
but yes, I think the truest, best adaptation from game to screen is the newer Sonic movies.
Gotcha.
Big fan. Like those two and Detective Pikachu for me. That's like a high bar. Max.
So
Best.
let me ask you guys a question because my answer is in line with yours. what is the plot of just briefly, right? Just spit it out. What's the plot of Detective Pikachu?
Guy, so put it this way. Kid who can't figure out what his life is finds out that his detective dad has gone missing, and his Pokemon.
He believes
Pikachu,
he was killed by Mewtwo.
Yeah, but his Pokemon, a Pikachu, is the only one on his side as they try to unravel the mystery of his father's disappearance.
Yes.
And the weird corporate connections that happen.
What Pokemon video game was that from?
Detective Pikachu.
Okay. So
Yes.
Detective Pikachu came out before the movie Detective Pikachu.
Correct.
Yes, about
Yes.
8 years.
All right.
9
Yeah.
years, somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
All
It
right,
was
so-
on the DS.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's why we have you guys on the
But-
show. What about Sonic the
Pikachu did
Hedgehog?
not talk in Detective Pikachu, the game.
No, just to be a weird video game nerd, the DS had a lot of Japanese detective games.
Yeah.
That were big, like based off of Lupin the Third and like lawyer games, a lot of those detection kind of a things. And so Nintendo's never been one to take one of their IPs and slap it on a popular concept. Nintendo came out with their own mod for Minecraft, exclusive to the Switch, and Detective Pikachu was there in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. They are not above that. It just happened that when Hollywood was optioning shit, they thought, oh, how do we rein in Pokemon? Detective Pikachu.
That was the way to do it. Yeah.
So, and what about Sonic the Hedgehog?
So that the storyline has nothing to do with the actual Sonic games. It just has Sonic in it.
Any of them.
And,
Yes.
and that was
Although
I
Dr.
think that was
Robotnik.
kind of the point I was going with is that the successful video game movies take just the IP from the video game and creates pretty much a narrative that is nothing to do with the game.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
So
think-
Detective Pikachu is sort of in line with the game, but for Sonic, they're like, let's take this character that everybody knows and loves, and let's drop him into the real world with fucking Cyclops from the shitty
And let's have
X-Men
John
movies.
Ralphio from Parks and Rec do the voice, who's my fucking spirit animal, by the way. Yeah.
So that's kind of my point is that I think the video game movies that are successful or that I think are, decent movies are ones that have basically not tried to tell the video game as a fucking movie.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I think that's what, if you're moving forward and, I know the fucking Rock loves Call of Duty and he wants to do a Call of Duty movie. I have no fucking idea how he's going to do it. And just watch Saving Private Ryan. You don't need Call of Duty. It's basically what Call of Duty was in the first place.
Well, it's funny. Like as we start going through these movies, you'll see some recurring characters, and not from the video game world, but from the acting world. So
Oh, yeah.
Dwayne Johnson
for
loves
sure.
his
Dwayne Johnson
adaptations.
and Mila Jovovich are two that stand out.
So
Yeah. But
Mac,
my
what was
pick
your
there
what was your
is
your
Sonic.
choice?
I think Sonic is the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I think is the best video game movie. But like I said, it also has nothing to do with Sonic the Hedgehog
Right.
minus the actual
It
characters.
just has Sonic the Hedgehog in it.
It just
Correct.
has Sonic in
Yeah.
it, and they just figured let's just make a good
Yeah.
fucking fun movie.
But
And
they
did.
do it so fucking well.
Yeah.
Doc?
Now, before you respond, Doc, I've been waiting
okay.
20 episodes to talk to you about
God.
this.
Oh, okay.
Because when we did Mortal Kombat 1995,
Okay, good. Let's go.
we had an argument.
Yeah.
And
I recall
you
that.
did.
yes, do
I
you
was
recall
there.
this argument?
I was there.
And
I wasn't even there, but I know the argument.
Yeah, and you said that Mortal Kombat was the greatest video game movie ever made.
I was wrong because there's something better.
Okay.
Mortal
because then
Kombat,
You
Annihilation.
said Sonic. I
I
think.
said Sonic because I hadn't thought of Detective Pikachu, so we were both. So I just wanted to say now, as men, were we both wrong at that argument at that time? Not admitting that the other one was right or wrong.
And I mean, in all sincerity, I don't know if there's like a right or wrong on this one.
There is, but we'll keep going.
I mean, again, I can't say much to Sonic because I never saw it, and I'm not going to speak on it because I've never seen it.
True.
Nor have I seen Detective Pikachu. I'm never going to watch that. But because I don't fucking
You really,
dig on Pokemon.
you really should.
I don't dig on
It's
Pokemon.
I'm not a
It's a
big,
fun movie
I'm not a big
regardless.
It's
Pokemon
good.
guy, but I've watched Detective Pikachu.
It's good.
It's a
it's a
good
good
movie.
fucking movie.
Regardless, get off your high horse and explain.
But it's not a fucking high horse. I don't like Pokemon. Anyhow, I think the greatest, not the greatest, the best movie adaptation of a video game is Street Fighter the animated movie.
Oh.
You motherfucker.
You went the animated way.
Yes. I think that movie's
I
fucking
respect that
excellent.
because
I
it's
have that
it's
on Laserdisc.
it's true
I have
to
that shit on
it's
DVD. I have
it's pretty
VHS.
true to the source.
Noah, what don't you have on Laserdisc?
Enough that I'm still on eBay once a week looking for the Laserdiscs I don't have.
Did you single-handedly keep Laserdisc like a thing for like 2.5 years?
I tried. It's a superior
Noah Brown
format.
collection.
And in the event of a zombie apocalypse, it's a good weapon. But I do have that on Laserdisc. Yeah.
There were three people left in the
It's a good movie.
factory. They were trying to shut the lights off, and every time they tried to close the door, they got a new fucking sales order from Noah Brown to go ahead and make one more fucking Laserdisc, and they had to keep the doors open for another 2 weeks because of you.
Amen.
Yeah,
They just all they
He
wanted
keeps
to do
the
was go
working
home,
man
Noah,
working.
and you
That's
went
all that
back to
matters.
Keep it honest, buddy.
That's right.
I don't know how many of you've seen the animated movie or not.
Not for a long time.
No.
Have you ever seen it at all, Mac?
No, I haven't.
So-
No, I haven't seen it.
I think, and it's funny, like, I forgot about it. It's weird how but I watched it so often when I was a teenager, because I didn't watch a lot of anime, I didn't watch Dragon Ball, I didn't watch any of that shit. But I'll tell you
Shit,
what,
no, Jones, I take it back. I have seen it. No, I have seen
Okay.
it.
But I watched the shit out of the Street Fighter animated movie. Is the voice acting great, but it's like dubbed, so it's not going to be great.
No, you gotta watch with subtitles.
Yeah, it's not the same. So I don't hold that against it, but the animation is fantastic. The movie takes itself just seriously enough that it's not over the top. There's great action scenes. There's an actual story. There is a resolution with a little bit of twist at the end. And how badass. And listen, I don't know how many of you guys were a little 14, 13-year-old watching that movie in the beginning where Ryu has a fucking showdown with Sagat and he shows where he gets the fucking scar on his chest. And Sagat's running at him and Ryu just pulls back with the fucking fireball, just waiting for him. And there's that fucking that robot watching him, looking at his energy levels, and it's over 5,000 or some shit. And he just Hadouken is
All the
Street
Yuken
Fighter
right in
animated
his fucking
series.
chest.
Yep.
That shit still gives me goosebumps because it's so well done.
Oh, super well done. It was over my head the first time I ever watched it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And then of course you got the obligatory Chun-Li shower scene, which is always nice.
Boobs.
Yes.
Shout out for boobs in any way that they appear.
Boobs.
That
Boobs.
I own that. I bought that movie from that store downtown. Oh goodness. It's a couple floors. It's the comic book store, but
Ides.
Ides.
Yeah.
One of my favorite.
Yeah.
It's not the same today.
I've
if
been
you
there
go in
forever.
there,
I've been there forever.
if you go in now, so the main floor and the top floor are now closed. The top floor is closed where they used to have the DVDs. The middle floor, which used to be like the album store, is it's basically like a flea market, and
That's
then downstairs is still the comic book
Okay.
store.
I bought that movie totally underage. They did not stop me.
Yeah,
I just
bought it.
that was my favorite comic book store
for a long
for
time.
a long time, and it's gone way downhill. But
dude. Oh my god.
if you're going for old toys or comic books, they still got quite the selection downstairs.
That's pretty cool.
But the rest of it's gone.
Noah,
Okay.
Yo.
because you grew up in the same area I did. Did you ever go to Time Tunnel?
I live my life in Time Tunnel.
See, that was my place for a really long time. We would always walk down from the house to go to Time Tunnel. Jeff, Time Tunnel used to be
on the V.
that building right at the T, right by Willow Avenue and Castle Shannon Boulevard.
It's an antique store now. Yeah.
V-shaped building. That
Yeah,
used to be
there's an antique store on the front, and there's a Dungeons and Dragons shop right behind it.
Yeah.
Or used to be.
But
It
that-
moved now.
that- yeah,
Actually,
but that
fun
used to be a
story
comic
about-
book place and a trading
about
card
that place, and I'll do a plug for that place. Behind where Time Tunnel used to be, and used to be the location of Drawbridge Games.
They're on 88 now,
They
where
are.
Retrograde used to
That
be.
is owned by a friend of mine and former New Japan and DDT pro wrestler Glenn Spector,
How about that?
who plays miniatures, who's a former DDT co-tag team champion with
That's awesome.
Dan Dino, has worked with Kenny Omega and stuff. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
That's
Totally
cool.
great guy.
Yeah, they moved on 88 where Retrograde Collectibles used to be,
Yeah.
which is now in Monroeville.
Yeah.
They're about to reopen.
They complain all the time about the overhead. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Time Tunnel was where I used to buy the X-Men trading cards all the time. And it's the first place I ever bought a comic book T-shirt.
It's awesome.
And I still maintain to this day that I got my ass kicked every day from 1992 to 1995 for wearing X-Men t-shirts just so kids can go to fucking Walmart and get them now.
That's right.
And I got it at Time Tunnel.
It's different
I got my
times.
scars at Time Tunnel.
Okay, so let's
but
transition.
That's not a bad call, though, with
That-
X-Men
that
the
to-
animated, the Street Fighter the animated
I like
movie.
how that Freudian slip happened.
Yeah.
Well, X-Men the animated series is still the best comic
I
book. for-
really
Yeah.
respect the fact
I mean,
that that's
an-
what came out.
That's an S series cartoon, as we described in the
That's an
archives.
excess.
That's
That's like
the
the top
best.
tier.
I mean,
Right,
according
Dave?
to most of
Like,
us.
to the point, you know what? I don't want to spoil anything about anybody about maybe a recently released major motion picture that may have had the moment of using that music in a thing.
By the time this episode comes out, if you haven't seen that movie, fuck you.
All right, they used the X-Men animated series music in
Yes,
Doctor
they
Strange
fucking did.
too, and it was the best part of the movie.
It definitely was.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I started shaking my wife.
Yeah.
I started shaking her. So we talked about the best.
There is the worst, though.
There is the worst, and I feel like this is where the line will get drawn.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
There's a lot of worse.
Yes.
It is.
Are we going to transition from best to favorite, or are we just going straight from best to
you
worst?
know what? Let's go best to favorite. Let's.
I'm going to go, because it'll be easy for me. It's Street Fighter animated series. That's my
Okay.
favorite. That is 100% my favorite, and I forgot that it fucking was.
I am going with a not great movie,
yeah.
but a movie that I love, Street Fighter, the movie.
Oh. Yes.
I've got so much respect
Not
for you
because it's good,
because I lost
but
points.
because of fucking Raul Julia as M. Bison.
He's so fucking good in that movie.
For that reason
He's
alone,
so good. In
it's
that
one of
movie.
my
Roll
favorite,
very
comic-
seriously.
favorite game movies.
There are only two things in that movie that are to be taken legitimately. One of them is how much Raw Julia decides to go for M. Bison and how he plays it like the Bond villain he never got to beat.
Yep.
And he nailed it. For you, the day that Bison came to your village was
Best
the
part.
most important day of your life. But for me,
it was Tuesday.
that and the fact that I had no idea who Kylie Minogue was until I saw that
Until
movie.
you saw her on
And
there.
I was fucking yeah. To this day, I don't care. She'll be an 8, and when I'm an old man, she'll be 80, and I'm like, but fucking Cammy though.
Yeah.
Her is Cammy.
Yeah. So not a great movie, but one of my favorites.
That movie's goddamn terrible.
I know it's terrible.
It's a terrible movie.
Dude, that plot made no sense.
It doesn't have to.
Dude, look, I think everybody can agree that Blanca is like a personal favorite for most people.
Oh, it was
they
so underutilized and fucking so
fucking
bad for that movie.
Disrespected
So bad.
the
Yeah.
character so badly. Like, I wonder what you talk about the people, the poor screenwriters, right? Like,
Yeah.
fuck the screenwriters of that fucking movie because they wrote that shit willingly and actively. I don't know what the fuck they were smoking, what they were doing, what they were thinking,
No.
what they were drinking, what they weren't drinking. I don't know, but that goddamn that movie. Not to shit on your favorite movie.
No, it's the best of the worst, basically. Is the conversation we're having.
I mean, god damn, it's
Also,
so bad.
the third best thing was that as far as just visual casting goes, Wes Studi as Sagat was looked good.
Yeah.
He looked real good.
That's just what he looks like.
I mean, yeah, but if he just as like that character, I'm like, okay, he got in great shape. He was tall. So like to me, that's still hashtag. That's my Sagat. But yeah. Mac, what's your favorite?
So my favorite is going to be the first Resident Evil.
Okay.
That movie based off that property, really going into the Umbrella Corporation, Alice not remembering who she is, the cast, the supporting cast of actors who we've seen in a lot of different movies, Michelle Rodriguez is in there and a number of other people that have appeared in things. But I just like the vibe of that movie. It is a zombie movie. They shoot it like a zombie movie. They treat it like a zombie movie, but it then kind of gives the elements of the video game within that world. And I think it all kind of keeps it controlled.
Yeah.
There's
always been
realism in a lot of that too.
Yeah.
And how that movie's grounded. So yeah, Resident Evil for me is my favorite adaptation.
What's always been frustrating for me is Resident Evil And I know, like Jones, you've never played the Resident Evil games. We talked
No,
about that.
I mean, I
in
sprinkled here
one
and
of
there,
our
but never
game
played whole
episodes.
through now.
Is a fucking great franchise.
Yeah.
It is.
And
It
if you
is.
look at Resident Evil 4 through 7, for example, are some of the best horror games ever. The movies
Yes.
are so far diverged from the game. Like, yes, they have zombies. Yes, they have Umbrella. But is it really a Resident Evil movie, or is it just another fucking zombie movie? It's never, like, for me, as a big fan of the Resident Evil franchise, like, I fucking hate those movies. And I'm not even excited about the new Netflix show. Yes, it looks interesting,
It does look interesting.
but it doesn't feel like, give me fucking Leon Kennedy, and then I'll be happy as a Resident Evil fan. Like, until then, like, who
See,
gives a fuck about Alice?
in a situation like that, I think it would be appropriate to just retell the story of a game, of one of the games.
Agreed.
I think you could get away with
You
that.
could do 4 in a TV series
Yeah.
and really stretch that shit out.
Absolutely.
But you'd just have to take a little
That's the
bit-
best
you'd have
Resident
to
Evil
do-
game there is.
Yeah, it is. But you'd have to do 2 to be able to tell 4. You know. I first of all, to be the boobs guy on our podcast.
Oh, okay.
I
Are we
fucking
talking
love-
about Mila Jovovich's boobs now, Noah? Or
I fucking love Mila Jovovich because one of my all-time favorite movies ever.
and it will be discussed on this podcast.
Yes,
It
it is the
absolutely
Fifth Element.
fucking
Fifth
will be.
Element.
I can't wait.
all time to the
is
point where
so good.
it is such a good fucking movie in every possible way, and it has aged incredibly. But since that day, you're like, oh, who's that? And why she kicks so much goddamn ass? And then you're like, and she's never stopped kicking ass, and she looks great. But the obligatory, it was. I remember seeing that movie Resident Evil in the theater, and it was a fine Friday night movie, right? The obligatory, amazing pop in the theater. I'll never forget. The theater was packed on Friday night when Resident Evil came out, and when Mila Jovovich falls off the operating table and her muff is shown,
Yeah.
the theater erupted at the muff shop. And I'll never forget that. It's the only time in a theater I've ever seen that it popped for a vagina. Loved it. And I think she carried that franchise,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
But that being said, I still think it told, as a movie, being removed from the Resident Evil franchise, it told a story. And it took risks.
It definitely did.
And it made enough money between that one and the second one to be able to get
yeah,
on
that there's
and
It's like 5
7
of them.
now or whatever.
train wreck itself through. I never saw any. I tried to watch the third one. It was unwatchable, but 1 and 2,
So, inside to the Jones household,
yeah.
the Resident Evil series, begrudgingly to my wife, it is her favorite, one of her favorite movie series.
For real?
Really?
Like, the first 2 she loves, the rest of them not so much, but I think because she's so invested in them, she likes them
it
in spite
continues
of
the
themselves.
story every time.
Yeah, like, it's-
although it's not the true Resident Evil story.
Yeah,
that,
but
like,
she's
from a
never
gaming
played.
standpoint.
She's
yeah,
never played Resident Evil. She'll never play.
Yeah,
she'll
if you completely separate the two, like it's a decent horror
Yeah,
film
for sure.
action franchise.
That's like the first one is her jam. She loves that first movie.
And that's kind
I
of
respect that. Yeah,
throughout it.
we
you know
actually
what I mean?
just rewatched it. We had a little romantic cabin getaway several weeks ago, and we brought a bunch of movies because we wasn't sure if the because last time we went, we were
you should have
like
got his Laserdisc of Street
Fuck,
Fighter
we
the
should've.
animated.
You definitely could have.
we like to put things on in the background, just something's on TV. If the cable's out,
If you're gonna fuck any movie, Street Fighter the animated movie,
Yeah.
not a bad call.
Yeah,
So I grabbed like because I got her like the 4 movie box set forever ago before the 5th one came out. So I just brought that. Like, let's just watch one a night, just have it on. We haven't watched it in years.
yeah.
So she's like, oh yeah, cool. So we sat and watched the first one. The only one we watched was the first one, and we watched the whole way through. And I'm like, I remember disliking this movie a lot, but that's not that bad, I guess.
I think the thing
It
for me,
aged better than I expected it to age.
yeah, the first 1 and 2 are good. After that, it's like
She's saving the world, man.
every
She's like,
every time I see the
Big jump.
umbrella logo or the actual umbrella, I'm like, all right, it's a fucking umbrella. Like, let's fucking get into this. And I'm like, I'm just disappointed every time.
exactly.
Like, it just doesn't deliver.
But whenever you're disappointed, just remember Mila Jovovich before she was in the Fifth Element was Victoria's Secret model.
She was, and also don't forget that before he would die for you, Khaleesi, Sir Jorah Mormont was in the Resident Evil movies. That was how he cut his teeth. So, as his big thing.
So wait, now we're talking about our favorites, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's me.
you.
We all win except for him.
Yeah.
If you say Super Mario,
it's the Super Mario Brothers movie.
This fucking podcast is
It's my
over.
fucking favorite video game movie ever. I watched. I can't wait until my child can watch it. I know, guys. I know it's fucking terrible.
Which leads me to the next question: what's our least favorite? Mine is the fucking Super Mario Brothers movie.
It's so fucking awesome for me, though.
But why? It doesn't make sense.
It is so bad on every fucking level.
It is not even like Super Mario Brothers. It's Super Mario in name only. There's nothing Super Mario.
No, it has nothing to do with it. But let me tell you that normally I would babble and rant about some sort of, here's the reason why, and I'd say, fuck you, or here's some personal story to make you feel bad about hating on it. No. I remember where I was and seeing it in the theater and having a great time seeing it, and when I bought it on Laserdisc, and it's one of the only movies that I have had on Laserdisc, VHS, DVD,
goddamn,
Blu-ray, and I own it on digital just because, for some strange reason, regardless of how bad it is, it gives me a good feeling. And whenever I'm having a terrible day, or like I work, there are days, and here's one personal story, and this is not meant to guilt anybody, but as far as things that you
Jesus
enjoy,
Christ,
fuck you, Dave. All right, and I mean that very seriously. Fuck you. When Lily was born, I was working 2 jobs, and I would leave in the morning and she'd be asleep, and I'd get home 14 hours later, she'd be asleep. So I had to do something to watch something before I go to bed. I needed something to not bum me out about not seeing my newborn awake for a whole day.
So you watched a movie that was worse than your real life.
Yes. Yes. That is exactly what it is.
It was your coping mechanism.
The movie makes me happy. And I don't know how else to describe it.
I mean, listen, you are more than allowed to feel any way you want to feel about any topic.
We're all entitled to our own opinions, but fuck you for thinking that.
Damn, son.
I'll take that one on the chin. I'll take it on the chin every time. I know it's bad, but goddamn it,
it's not bad. It's the worst.
I don't know.
It's not the worst.
It is not the worst.
It is not
it's
the
pretty
worst.
fucking low.
It is not the worst because I have thoughts on the worst.
Yeah, there is a movie.
That movie is so bad that even in its badness, it's still in the middle of bad of video game movies, because there's at least 15 movies that are worse than that one.
I don't want to dunk on you for the sake of dunking on you, because that's not cool. I don't believe in that.
But he's about to do it, so fuck you.
No, and I've known you for, as of today, motherfucker, like 20 fucking years.
20 years today.
And that's some shit. All right. So I've known you for about half my life, which is fucking weird. But with that being said, you got some goddamn nerve coming up in here on the show, singing this fucking song about fucking Super Mario Brothers.
But here's the thing. It's
giving you good feelings.
Okay, all right.
You know, I have a good feeling when I watch that movie when I fucking hit stop on the VHS, because that's all I have it on. VHS.
Listen, Noah and Super Mario Brothers is between Noah and his God, okay?
Oh, boy.
It is.
Listen, it's true.
It's not like a Bad Boys 2 thing where you don't like it and you're wrong. All right?
And I'm very right.
It's just bad.
I know it's bad. And I know it has almost no redeemable quality.
It really doesn't.
Has virtually none. All right? But it still gives me a good feeling, and I'll still watch it any chance I get.
I'm gonna listen. This isn't even on my list of fucking worst movies I've ever seen. But fuck, you know what fucking pisses me off about Super Mario Brothers? I'm gonna fucking get on my goddamn soapbox about this shit, because it's
the beginning,
absurd
beginning to the end.
No, not just that. Good point, Dave, but not just that. All right, look, we are talking about one of the most beloved fucking franchise. Sorry the swearing. There are people around. One of the most beloved franchises. I just feel bad.
It's fucking Mario.
Look,
everybody loves Mario.
It is one of the most beloved franchises in gaming, period. One of the most recognizable fucking characters around the world. Like generally regarded as a lovable character.
Right? He has his own theme park.
We've established this, that he's an important character. Now, let's take this incredibly important IP and do something with it and make a really cool movie that people are going to really like and talk about for generations to fucking come. And these motherfuckers came up with this.
Allow me.
Yeah.
Allow me.
They shot in a box.
Allow me.
And you said, okay, I'll take it.
When you Google major American
on VHS,
movies,
DVD, Blu-ray.
Regardless of
digital
that,
download.
I got a simple answer for this. This movie was released in 1993, which means it was shot in 1991, 1992, which means
Cocaine.
it is the very first major U.S. movie based on a video game because cocaine.
That shit comes full circle.
Cocaine.
It's like Bloodsport.
It's the same people. I wouldn't, if you're like the same person who fucking charted out Bloodsport to prove Bloodsport, looked at the script from Mario Brothers and said, you know what? Add a meteorite, add some more pizza, let's make John Leguizamo Italian or something.
Yeah. And now, 30 years later, like, how can we redeem this? Chris Pratt, Mario.
Chris Pratt.
How can you redeem
The
it?
Minions.
You can't.
No, you can. I'm excited about the new Mario movie, but that's
I'm
just
not.
because
I am
the
too,
bar
'cause
is
it's
set
gonna
so
be animated.
low.
It's animated, so it will look like Mario.
It will- it
At
just won't
least
sound
we have
it's gonna
that.
look like
It
it.
won't be fucking Captain Lou Albano as fucking Mario.
Oh, now listen. What's it? You just reminded me that in our Saturday morning cartoons, I also put the Super Mario Brothers show
Yeah.
as S-Class, and you
Yeah,
motherfuckers
we're
try to
judging
get me
it.
on
And I will
We're
just
judging
shit on you
everything
for
now.
that.
No, but here's the thing. I don't know if anyone here has paid attention to any of the casting for the Super Mario Brothers new movie besides Chris Pratt.
I'm on all of it.
Yeah. The fact that they announced Keegan Michael Key as Toad is I'm fucking here for it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But you're gonna give me Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong. First of all, what is a Donkey Kong?
Why is Cranky Kong in there to begin with?
Why is a Donkey Kong Country B character in the Mario movie? Right? I don't even
Why
know.
not? It's Nintendo.
But you're giving me Fred Armisen? I'll take it.
Dude, I have this weird feeling this movie's going to be very self-aware and it's going to piss people off.
I would love it.
Oh, I hope so.
Really self-aware. And I don't
All right.
like it.
We're gonna find out, won't
Let's
we?
get to the worst.
Oh, man. I thought we did.
We are not there yet
Yeah.
because Mario Brothers is bad, but it ain't the worst.
Oh, it is not the worst.
It is.
It really
not
isn't the worst I've ever seen.
No.
Who wants to lead off with
Matt,
this?
go for it, man. I know you got it in there.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, when you talk about trying to hit bottom, like, I feel like when you're talking about the worst video game movie, it is that fucking, like, that cave or that ledge that Wile E. Coyote falls off, where you're waiting for them to hit the ground, and they
He's
just
feeling
keep
around
falling,
on the bottom.
and just keep falling and just keep falling and just keep falling and just keep falling. Now I'm going to actually give you a movie that I personally believe is the worst video game movie of all time. And it might not even be what you might think it is, or it might be what you think it is. But this motherfucker has an Academy Award. And he somehow needed a paycheck so fucking bad that he had to jump into this movie. And it's called Blood Rain.
Oh man, that movie was a bad time.
That started when I wrote my letter to Uwe Boll. I had Blood Rain on the brain because Cristiano Locan or Loken, whatever you pronounce it, was so fucking hot when that movie came out. She's so smoking that she could have been in a car ad, and I would have watched it on repeat. You know what I mean? And I went to see Blood Rain just based on how smoking she was in that video game movie, and it was so bad. So bad.
He's so bad Noah's dying.
So bad. It killed me.
It's actually hurting Noah physically to talk about how bad this fucking movie is.
It
This
is
movie
not
makes
great.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation look like the motherfucking Godfather Part 2. And I haven't even seen that movie to compare it.
Oh, first of all, you're not wrong about most things, but I will just say it while my cohorts here Google the movie because they've blocked it out from their minds. That my worst movie is, to counter that, Mortal Kombat Annihilation is the worst video game movie
Look,
ever, and it beats out Blood Rain and Alone in the Dark by just that much.
Annihilation is also my
Alone
worst.
in the Dark, right?
game
So
movie.
since you bring it up here, Noah, on Rotten Tomatoes, because I was doing a little bit of research on this before we talked about it,
Yeah.
it is the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score of every video game movie of all time. It is 1%.
that says a lot.
This says a lot for sure.
To put that in context, Mortal Kombat Annihilation 4 times better than Alone in the Dark.
And Mortal Kombat Annihilations is like just so terrible.
Yeah, that's not a compliment
No.
whatsoever.
That says
No. That's
so very
my
much.
3. Annihilation, worst ever.
Oh God.
Second, Alone in the Dark. Blood Rain, number 3.
You know what's weird? Like, I'm just gonna fucking go because, like, listen, Mortal Kombat Annihilation is not my. I don't think it's the worst I've ever seen. It is. God damn, it's so bad though. It's so bad. It's truly laughably bad. Like, it was like they weren't really trying to make a good movie. And I hate saying that about actors and producers and crew. It just felt like they weren't trying to do this right, considering how well received the first one was. But we've talked about this in the archives. But I think the worst that I've seen. Now, I looked at a list the other day of all the movies based on video games. There's a ton I've never seen. Thank God.
Yeah.
There's like a lot. I'm like, I didn't know they made this.
There's a lot of bad ones and 0 good ones.
There's like a lot of bad ones and some passable ones.
yeah.
But the worst I've ever seen, I saw in person in 2003 in a theater I paid fucking money for.
And
look,
hard-earned money, Jones.
yeah.
Real money.
And it was a group of friends, and you guys have known me well enough to know that I respect cinema. I don't talk during movies. I chill. I take it in. No matter how bad the fucking movie is, I'll sit through it and I'll digest that shit. I don't heckle films until I saw this. I, along with some mutual friends of ours, the Whitfields, went and watched House of the Dead.
Oh.
Yes, you
by
did.
Uwe Boll.
You bull.
That motherfucker struck again. And I don't know if it was just the day I was having, or it was just the absurdity of how bad the plot was, pretty much everything was. At one point I just screamed out like somebody died, because when somebody died, a main character, it would do like a weird Matrix bullet time slow-mo spin around the person as they died. And I just like screamed, "Game over!" And I'm like, "What? What happened? That's not me. Why would I do that?"
What did I just do?
I'm like, I was so
It's like
offended.
an out-of-body
I was
experience.
actually offended by this film, and which basically means Uwe Boll has offended me on a personal, spiritual level. And this is not between me and my God; it's between me and Uwe Boll. God damn it! And he and I are gonna have words one day. I don't know how.
I want to know who killed God first, you bull or Hulk Hogan. That's what I.
But what did
yeah.
Ben Kingsley do that his agent said, Uwe Boll is directing Blood Rain, and then Ben Kingsley goes, that sounds like a great idea.
Sign me up.
No,
we should
because,
do that.
because Ben Kingsley appears on a couple of these movies, and it's so interesting that Blood Rain and House of the Dead and Mortal Kombat Annihilation are so bad, and Alone in the Dark, that I figured, but are so bad that the other movies we're going to mention as being also very bad are in the middle of the bad scale of video games. For example, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, which is a fucking incredible game.
Very good game.
And all you had to do was tell a time-traveling story, and they somehow fucked it up with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ben Kingsley.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Great game. Shitty movie.
Shitty movie. And
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Great fucking game. Shitty movie.
Horrible,
Even with
man.
fucking Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender.
Yeah,
Dude
that's
almost
right.
doesn't do
Like,
it
come
wrong.
on, man.
Dude, and a movie, here's the other thing, too. That was a great game. And it is a shitty movie, but compared to all the other video game movies, ranks closer to the top than you'd want it to, was Silent Hill. And I'll tell you why. Because the bar ain't high.
No.
But you're talking about a mind-bending story of a town and
Yeah.
horror movie gone wrong, in which demonic forces try to rip the town apart. While you're telling that whole story, you have a father and it's got Boromir in it, right? It's got Trevelyan, and it's got Razor Blade Vagina. When that movie is in your top 25%
that
of
was-
video game movies.
Yeah.
Listen.
It's a bit absurd. I mean, I love horror franchise games. Like, I love the Resident Evil games. I love the Silent Hill games. I love fucking Eternal Darkness on the GameCube, like one of my
You were
favorite
so
games
into that game, man.
from that console. But like the movies are so bad, and like Silent Hill was like it was okay, but then like you get to like certain like what the fuck moments like that, And you're
Razor blade vagina.
you're
Well,
like,
so-
why would you do that? Like,
I walked out of the theater. On
just
that
have
movie.
a fucking creepy kid
Did you?
and
I
some
did.
ghosts and a fucking creepy house. Like, why do you need that?
Hell of a
I
question.
thought that movie was so bad. Silent Hill. There's only really been, I think, 2 or 3 movies in my life that I've ever legitimately walked out of, and that was one of them. I couldn't deal with it. I hated it so much.
Yeah.
So
It is not the worst, but I hated it so much.
I'm glad you said that. I'm gonna bring a really important question up. What's your, in this particular subject, the guilty pleasure movie, right? The one that you like, you know it's not good, but it's something that you just like, you dig it, like it's in spite of itself, right? And I'm gonna go ahead. What do you usually say? I'm gonna piggyback off this, what you said. My guilty pleasure of this particular genre is in fact Silent Hill.
Interesting.
Because I like the fact that it takes itself so unnecessarily seriously. Like
Yeah.
it's
absurd.
It's trying so hard to be Silent Hill.
It really is. It
and
really
it
is.
didn't have to try.
They even gave that lady the haircut, which I respected.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
detail
yeah.
that most movies won't even try to give us. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and like the end, like it was just so serious and so just like depressing. And I'm like, I respect what they were trying to do with this. It ain't good. I
No.
don't go out of my way to watch it, but if I catch it, I'll finish it. It's a guilty pleasure movie.
I respect that. I'll hop in here next with the guilty pleasure. Typically Mario would have covered this, but because it's my favorite. Part of me would have said, Double Dragon.
Oh god, that is not your guilty
no
pleasure.
one will ever.
No one would believe that.
No one will ever speak of this film again.
Yeah.
Noah, I swear to God, if I was there, I would reach across the table and
I know.
your shirt.
I know. We will cover Double Dragon on this show.
No, we won't.
Yes, we will.
I
In long
listen,
form.
I will not be on that.
Yes, you will.
episode.
Yes, you will. You have no fucking
No
choice.
interest
Yes.
in it.
Oh,
You aren't going to have consent. You're just
I
going to be
do
in
it.
there.
Listen, you're gonna do it. Now listen, a movie that is better, and this is me personally, that was better than I thought it had any business being. It's not my guilty pleasure. Was the Warcraft movie? I thought the Warcraft movie, based off of the first series 1 through 3, not the World of Warcraft, because whatever that is. I mean, as far as the idea, I thought that was an ambitious movie, and that was super fun. But and better than I thought it was, because my expectations were low. But honestly, I know it's a cop out. But if we're talking about my guilty pleasure video game movie, it's fucking Mortal Kombat. Like,
I mean, why not? That movie's great.
Absolutely, it's fucking
95 or
that-
2021.
Oh no, 1995.
Yeah, it is the
2021
first
sucks.
one.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
95. Mortal Kombat 95.
Yeah.
Was
Oh.
is to me, I still have fun watching it from the first Mortal.
Oh, God.
Kombat
You watch it from
until
the
very
soundtrack.
last frame. I still have fun. I will still go, like, if I realize I've had too many beers and my family's asleep, I'll put like way too many Hot Pockets in the oven. I'll fucking crack another beer and I'll start the movie, and by the time I fall asleep with a Hot Pocket on my chest like an otter, I've loved every frame of that movie.
That movie is. I mean, we've all again. We like it so much we covered it. One of the first few episodes we did,
It was an early episode.
and the movie is good. The movie for what it is, it did the right amount of taking itself seriously, but not enough.
Yeah.
And it played to the audience well. So, I think. I mean, I appreciate that it's a guilty pleasure film for you, but I feel like it fucking put that shit in one of the better.
It's in the top
Category.
25%,
Yeah.
but that's not to say that it's good.
No, but it's not terrible.
No. We're talking about like the rarefied air of video games
Bad
movies.
yeah.
It's like fucking not high up there.
Right. Well,
Cream
Jeff,
of the crop.
where are you at on this?
Yeah, so my guilty pleasure is also not a bad movie. It's a movie we talked about earlier. Is Detective Pikachu. That I just, every time it's on, I just turn it on, whether my kids are watching it or not. My kids are like hardcore Pokemon fans, so that's why I watched it in the first place. And now I'm like, oh, Detective Pikachu's on. Like, I'm just
I
gonna
can watch
fucking
this.
watch
I'll
it.
sit down, yeah.
Yeah. So that's my guilty pleasure. But going back to movies that we regret watching or that are so bad, is fucking Dead or Alive.
Oh.
Which
Oh boy.
was,
Was that you, Bull, as well?
I believe it was.
feel like it had to have been.
I don't know if it was.
You
Yeah,
mother.
when he's back, let us know.
So it's based on a game from the fucking Dreamcast, which is a fighting game, except there's just a whole bunch of tits.
Corey Ewan.
Oh man.
It's just
Okay.
tits, like girls in bikinis, like fighting on the beach. Just tits bouncing in ways they shouldn't bounce. And so they're like, hey, let's make a movie out of it with fucking Jamie Presley of all people. And it was just like so like unwatchably bad.
Yes, it was.
I'm like, how does this even correlate to the fucking game? And it doesn't.
it was Dead or Alive. It's boobs. People wanted to see it.
That's the whole point of the game.
It was targeted to
movie
dude
was
bros
not
who want to see boobs.
We have to tell the young gamers who, first of all, who grew up with Pornhub and they don't even understand, right?
Right, yeah.
But in the early days of fighting games, excuse me, 3D fighting games, there was Virtua Fighter, there was Tekken, and there was Soul Calibur. And then there were other ones on the
Soul
outside.
Calibur is one of the best fighting games
man,
ever.
Soul Calibur is so
Dreamcast.
good.
So good. Someday we should have a Soul Calibur tournament and they get really mad at each other.
Oh god, I will pick Baldo and piss everybody
Oh
off.
my god. Oh, so good.
I got my Dreamcast at home whenever you guys are ready.
I got two
Let's fucking
controllers
do it.
literally over there.
Let's fucking do it.
I'm down.
Soul
do it.
Calibur to be announced at another
Yes.
time. Anyway, but that was like the rebirth of the fighting game after the 2D era, and DOA came out and tried to be that kind of game, but with tits.
Yes, that's exactly how they
And
advertise
it's
it.
literally, it's like, hey, you like fighting games, but what about fighting games with tits?
No,
and then they're like,
let's be more specific. Not just tits, because all the other games are tits. Tits with physics.
yeah,
Yeah.
physics tits,
Yeah.
where your normal
Yeah,
tits
they
games
had
would stop
minds
and
of
the
their
tits
own,
would bounce
really.
the way. They kept going, so when you won, and your tits would just move.
Nothing else. Just
Basically,
that.
it's like it's enough time that if you're really good, you can rub one out from beating somebody until the next mission
Yeah,
comes
you
out.
could beat somebody and beat yourself.
Yeah,
To
pretty
the
much.
point where they
Yeah.
released DOA 2, but then every other DOA game afterward was just tits. No fighting. It was
Wasn't there
volleyball.
There was volleyball.
Extreme
That's right.
beach volleyball.
Yes.
So they made a movie years after this
Yeah.
had all happened.
With a white chick with zero tits.
yes. And they're
Just
like, yeah,
flat chested. Like,
yeah, let's make a movie.
So they're like, let's get the guys who really like DOA. And then they're like, where are the tits? Like, that's what I signed up for.
yeah, I signed up for tits in my face. With the tits in my face, Corey Ewan's like, I made X-Men. I made the first X-Men. You will sit through no tits.
That's right.
Mac, what's your guilty pleasure?
So, I got. I'm sorry. I got one that fits the purpose of this podcast, and one that slightly breaks the rules. I'm going to say the one that slightly breaks the rules because
Of course you are. Yes, let's hear it.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Let's go
break
down
the
this.
rules,
Let's
Dave.
go down this road.
It is a movie based off video games, but it's not based off a video game. It's a movie Pixels.
Oh, okay.
So with Adam Sandler and Josh
Dinklage.
Gad and Tyrion Lannister's in
Peter
Lannister's
Dinklage.
in it. Yeah, Peter Dinklage.
Midgets.
They're battling arcade games. You're battling Pac-Man. You're battling Centipede and Asteroid and all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't fit the format, but I wanted to throw that out there as kind of like an honorable mention. My guilty pleasure is Doom.
Yeah.
For one
Oh.
specific reason.
Man, that movie.
The
It's
first
because
half of that
first
movie is better than it should be. The second half of that movie is exactly as good as it should be. And it's fucking terrible.
yeah.
Continue.
But the first person shooter scene is enough for me. That is my guilty pleasure. If I'm
It's pretty
scrolling
cool.
through the channels and it's
Yeah,
that
that's
time
a-
of the
that's a
movie where
direct-
Carl Urban's just going to wake up and it's the first person and he goes through and just fucking shoots all the demons and everything, I'm all for that. So I did see that movie in theaters. I did pay good fucking money for it. I did walk out of that theater going, well, that is not what I thought this was going to be.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, but for that scene alone, I mean, that's a direct shout out to the fans. Like, that's what
Exactly.
everybody paid to see, and that's what you got.
And no movie had ever done anything like that before. That just pure POV, like you're just playing the game. So yeah, I was all for that.
Yeah. That movie, I mean, I saw that movie. I can't know if I saw it in the theater. Ended up seeing it in the theater. That's a sidebar conversation we're not going to have about Doom. But, because we don't have time for that. But I know I saw it, and I remember coming away from that movie going like, I mean, that wasn't very good, but it is a fucking movie about Doom, so what did I expect?
Short answer: you did see it in the theater because you saw it with me.
Did I end up seeing
Yeah,
it?
yeah, we saw it together.
Okay.
Yeah, we had the same exact reaction to the end of the movie. Like, what the fuck was that? That wasn't good, but it was a thing.
It was a thing.
It was a thing. Yeah.
It's an experience. That's what you're paying for.
Yeah. And this episode was a thing. But before we keep getting going on, before we wrap this up, I want to talk about the future, not of just this podcast, but of video game movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So, like, let's take it from what was.
Is it going to be Street Fighter 2, The Legend of Chun-Li 2?
We don't. No one speaks of that movie.
No, nobody speaks of
in the
Legend
Earth
of
realm.
Chun-Li.
That's not a real thing.
I
Or the
cannot
Tekken
let this
movie.
episode go without mentioning that fucking piece of shit movie.
Actually, so I'm going to ask you guys a serious question. We've all seen the Angelina Jolie Lara Croft movie where she doesn't show her tits, but she should have, right?
Yes.
Did we see the newer one for 2018?
It was much
Alicia
better.
Vikander,
I heard it
yep.
was good.
It was
Yeah.
much
It was
better.
much better than what Angelina Jolie gave us.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the Sony triangle tits that you were expecting from
No.
Angelina Jolie in the first one, but it was actually a solid movie.
Oh, the Angelina
reboot.
Jolie movie also had Sir Jorah Mormont in that movie too.
Brothers got to eat, man.
Yeah, I don't,
He got it.
I
He gotta
don't
eat.
remember
And
that.
fucking
You gotta
Daniel
be- you
Craig
gotta
is
be
in
right.
one of those two.
Yeah, and he's in the first one as
Yeah, he's in the first one.
Yeah, as the love interest that is doomed. But so, are there any video game movies that have been announced that you guys are excited for? Besides the Mario movie, me personally.
No, there's not.
No, not one.
No, I mean,
They ruined it with Halo.
no, I there's nothing that I can tell you that like, in terms of what like a property that I would like to see adapted. Actually,
That would be fun. Let's talk about that. Let's go around that.
and I know I'm the only person in this room who plays Destiny, but I firmly believe, and I've felt this way for years, that IP is just ready, absolutely ready to make a movie or a TV show or books. There are anthologies of the lore behind that universe, and like the lore is stuff from like Lovecraftian like horror to high level sci-fi, to just mundane tales of the wild and survivors living their lives. I think when they do, because I know Bungie has opened up a new studio and they're partnering with Sony to start bringing more of their stuff to like different mediums,
Yeah.
which is really exciting. When that happens, I'm hopeful that people are going to be very surprised at how interesting the Destiny universe is, and maybe drive some more players to actually try the game out. But
They
definitely,
have all that stuff for
definitely.
Halo too, and look at how that piece of shit turned out.
Well, see, here's the deal, man. Bungie's not touching Halo anymore. It's a different story.
I just
Yeah.
imagine someone sitting there at the producer meeting for Halo, like, yeah, so you've got the Reach and the Fall of Reach, and it's going to be this intricate story about all the things the humans could have done, but the Covenant did better. But what if Master Chief's penis has magical babyface turning abilities, and he fucks?
What if it's blue like Cortana?
Yeah,
Let's just put it
but
in there.
Cortana watches him fuck. People are
Which
like,
is
I guess.
weird.
Yeah,
So weird. But yeah, that's my answer. I definitely, it's something Destiny related.
you like to see Destiny.
And it would be cool too, because you play the game like for people, in the audience that don't know, it's like one person that I know listens that plays Destiny about as much as I do. And like you play like this reanimated corpse who's like a soldier. You're called by this space god basically to fight minions of the darkness, of different alien races of different types. I maintain that the beauty of a Destiny story would not be about the Guardians that you use in the game. It'd be about other characters in the universe.
Yeah.
The everyday person who doesn't really interact with the Guardians very often. But there's so many stories, there's so much science fiction that's in that universe that you could tell some really cool stories,
Tell
just
some
like a
fleshed out
mini
stuff.
series. Yeah, but a movie will be really badass. But I digress.
Jafar.
Yeah, so I have a number of things on my list. One I mentioned earlier is if we're going to keep focusing on Resident Evil, why not focus on Resident Evil 4, which is the best
Yeah,
Resident Evil.
It is the best. Hands down. Would you like to see my wares? It's my favorite. quote to say to people
Things
when I
that have been sort of rumored or in development for a long time. One is The Legend of Zelda, obviously.
Oh, of course.
I'm convinced it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen. And if it does, it's not. We're
It's
going to
not
have
gonna be
another
good.
episode where we're going to
how
talk
we're gonna
shit,
shit all
on
over
The
it.
Legend of Zelda and how it could have been. So
I mean,
maybe someday
you almost
we'll
can't make that movie because like Lord of the Rings was already made.
The expectations are so high for that. It's impossible. Another thing I'm excited about, there's been rumors about Dave Bautista playing Marcus Phoenix in a Gears of War movie.
That'd be interesting.
Which would be fucking fantastic. That's one of my favorite
dude,
game franchises ever.
The Gears 2 with the worm would be such an incredible cinematic moment. Like, oh my god, get my money.
Yeah. So those are things we've heard about, like rumors on the internet. Mm-hmm. One that we haven't heard about that I would love to see is a fucking BioShock movie in any iteration, whether it's the original,
Infinite, man.
all the way through Infinite. Like if it's any of those, like I would like, here's my fucking money, just take it. Mm-hmm. I would be all in for any of that.
1000%. Mac, what's your dream franchise into a movie or big?
So again, Jeff, as I mentioned in the last episode of your escapades with the Legend of Zelda, I agree. That's one that I've wanted to see for a long time, and as I just kind of said too, I just don't think you can do it because, I mean, any version of Link you're going to do will be compared to fucking Legolas from Lord of the Rings. Yep. And I don't know that you're going to be able to do a Zelda movie that would be better than Lord of the Rings. It's too close.
Yeah, the expectations from fanboys like myself are too high.
Well, it's not only
it'll never deliver.
The property is so fucking guarded by Nintendo. Like they could not stand to see that fail. But I mean that's one of those that I've always heard rumored that I'd be really interested in. I'll stick with the Nintendo and talk about like my wish list ones that I would love to see kind of happen. And there's two of them. I think they'd be pretty fucking fun if they did it. One would be a Metroid movie. I would fucking love to see Samus.
Prime would be perfect. Prime fits his game right into a movie.
Yeah. I'm such a huge fan of the Metroid Prime series that I think you could make that into a really interesting, fun movie. And I'm going to go off the board here and go Punch Out. Make a fucking Punch Out movie. I think if you found a way to kind of present that visually in a certain way, I think people would fucking go hard for Little Mac. And,
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a sports comedy.
And Stephanie goes hard for Little Mac too sometimes. So, hi-oh.
Hey-oh.
Once you take him out of his pink jacket.
But I would love to see that.
No, that's actually really funny. You do like a lot of the iconic King Hippo and Punch Out characters as the montage guys on the way up, and then you have Little Mac, and he actually has to fight Mike Tyson at the end of the movie.
That'd be cool.
And he just beats the shit out of him several times in a row. That'd be great. That's good. Me personally, like there's sure. Legend is out, of course. They'll never do it. They'll never be able to do it, right? So
they
they'll stay
can't.
away from it.
The expectations are too high.
We might get it. Might get it if Mario works. Start the process.
They're gonna fuck it up if they do.
No. And there's a couple other things that I'd like to see. Like me personally, like B level. I think you could probably do as an animated series Star Fox and do it in a fun way as like a kids animated movie or a series. But
they did that though. Like Star Fox was an animated series for a little while.
I mean, like proper and with technology there, and stuff. Me personally, and I'd love to see Skyrim and all that stuff, the Elder Scrolls shit. But that would be so cool. But I think the thing that is dying for a major blockbuster, treatment is the Mass Effect series.
Oh boy, that would be something.
I think that would be super cool. Because you have enough, the games were new enough. Get a lot of fun stuff in there, and get a lot of heart and not a lot of spoilers. But the characters you meet in 1 and 2 meet different ends.
Yeah.
Depending on how you play through 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
So to tell these characters, like in a Game of Thrones-esque thing, and see characters fall off and turn and become something else.
Yeah, in games like that, there's a lot of room for scale.
Yes.
As opposed to telling one defined story that has to fit into 90 to 120 minutes. It's like there's a lot of opportunity for character growth over a whole gamut of different characters, different storylines that could fill a few movies, could fill a series, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of opportunity out there.
You could take each of the Mass Effect games and make each game 3 movies. You could have enough there. Tell your own 9-movie series. But I still think, even though I think Mass Effect 3 was the first game I ever cried in, because it's just the payoff of all 3 things. Mass Effect 2, the end of that game, was so cinematic from start to finish that it needed to be a movie scene. So
good choices around the board.
Yeah,
good choices
solid.
around the board. Seriously.
And I think the next property that we have coming out is going to be The Last of Us.
Yeah,
right? I mean, that's not going to be. It's not a movie. It's going to be on HBO.
Yeah,
but I know they've been working on that,
and
we're probably going to be due for something on that pretty soon.
Pedro Pascal is in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot. Very much so.
I don't know if anyone here played Last of Us 2?
No. I watched the playthrough, a long play of it.
Dave says yes, but
okay.
The answer is no across the board. Yes.
I have. You are going to realize it is the perfect video game to be an HBO series, because it ain't no good vibes.
No, it's a really bad story. It is not a fun experience.
No.
And it pissed a whole lot of people off.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Now, I don't own a PlayStation 4 or 5 or 3. So, I have not played Mass Effect, that's where I'm at. Last of Us. But I watched long plays of both games. Because I really like the first one a lot.
Oh,
and
so
I
good.
played, I went over to Gibbs years ago and played the first 15-20 minutes of the first one years ago, and I was like, man, this game's fucking amazing.
Oh, so good.
And then that was it, and I had to watch the long play. But to that end, I really anticipate this show. I think it's going to be really fucking good.
It's going to be really good.
Yeah,
they're going to put a lot of money behind it, and hopefully it doesn't suck.
It's going to be brutal.
Oh, it's going to make people wobbly jawed like a motherfucker.
It's going to be brutal, and as it should be.
I'm ready to be hurt.
But you know what's not brutal? This fucking podcast, as we keep trucking along.
Yes.
Guys, we are getting so close to episode 50.
So close.
Yes.
To our Diamond Jubilee.
Yes, but before we get to episode 50,
Yeah.
we're going to get to episode 49,
Yeah.
where we dive 2, maybe 3 knuckles deep into our favorite wrestling feuds of all
This is
fucking
gonna be
time.
fucking
Yes.
fun.
Not just one, but multiple wrestling
I'm a
feuds
little giddy about this
of
subject.
all
It's going to be
time.
so good.
Yes, because there's some shit that happened decades ago that is so good.
There's so much
that we
There
could just
is
talk about
a
long
lot
form.
of shit.
We are going to drink and yell at each other about wrestling, and whereas you guys screamed to me about the Super Mario Brothers movie, we're all going to be screaming in agreement of each other about how fucking awesome it is for 2.5 hours. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a great time.
And then we hit the fucking crescendo of Nothing Good. Something we've been hyping for 47 episodes so far.
Yeah.
Yes. Episode
The
50.
Epitome of Nothing Good. Episode 50.
The epitome of Nothing Good.
The fucking review of Bad Boys 2.
It's not
Bad.
the epitome.
Well, yes, it is. And you will fucking love it. And you will
Oh,
drink
boy.
it. It's going to be like that scene in Indiana Jones in a Temple of Doom where we fucking strap him down and make him drink out of his skull. It's like, Kalima.
Yes.
And then it's going to be like,
Yeah.
hey, hey,
Yeah.
hey.
Bad Boys 2. One of the 4 of us are super excited. The rest of us are like, fuck, it's Bad Boys 2.
It's fucking Bad Boys 2.
How do we get to episode 51?
Oh, god damn it.
Only
Will
time will
this show
tell.
make it to episode 51? That's
It
the
may
big
not.
question.
We might implode. I don't know.
It's a supernova kind of a situation here. But guys, we're here in the summer. We're rounding, and then after the 50s, we're going to keep trucking along until the 1-year anniversary, and here we are.
Can I tell you
show's got legs.
before we go, real quick, what I'm really excited about more than almost any other topic so far? I'm really looking forward to talking about BioShock Infinite.
Oh, that's coming up.
Dude, I gotta boot that up at some point soon to start kind of digging into it and take my notes because we haven't done a long form gaming talk in
Yeah.
a
Quite a
while
while.
since
Yeah.
Halo.
I just restarted playing that game,
It's so fucking good.
Man, it's so
good.
fucking good. I cannot wait till that. We just got to get through Bad Boys 2 before that.
God damn it.
Will the circle be unbroken? We will find out.
Oh, boy.
But guys, thank you for joining us here. Thank you guys for being here. Mac, thank you for joining us all the way from Florida.
Hopefully you make it back to us soon.
Would say.
Yeah,
come
we'll
back
see you
to
back
us.
next week.
It's
You know
so
what?
It's so fucking hot here.
We are not going to we're not going to record those episodes until you come back home to us.
Yes.
In our heart.
Safe.
Yes.
Here. Yeah, quit trying to suck the dick of the microphone.
So,
Jesus Christ.
behind the scenes, Jeff has like dropped the mic like 2 fucking times already.
It's a very short cord,
Oh, boy.
It is.
in my defense.
It's not how long it is. It's how you use it.
Yeah. No,
hope
apparently
you
it just
use
wants to
this.
go down on me.
Oh, boy.
And now for the last gift we give you, we're going to give you what I'd like to have everyone, the three of you and Mac, get really close to your microphone. Everyone get really close. And now, for speaking of using it, what I'd like to have everyone do is for you to use. I now present to you to close the show, the Nothing Good Marital Aid. We're just going to breathe for a minute, make noises, for you to play in the background on loop while you do the coitus. Yeah.
Nothing good.
Spit on
the fuck's wrong with you people?
it. Bite it.
No one's going to like this.
What's happening right now?
Nothing good.